Hello everyone. Hi, it is I, Laura, as you already know. Went to my regionals here this past weekend in Knoxville.
What did you win with?
Well, I didn't win anything, unfortunately. I tried my best, but I went in with Rikka Sunavalon. It is. I don't know. Why did I choose to play it? Well, first of all, I just enjoy the deck myself. To be honest, it's like very fun, very interactive on your end. You can make it very uninteractive on the opponent's end. Tributing for cost as a form of removal is very degenerate itself as a strategy, and there's just like so much you can do with it. It just like has so many options and different forms of extension that it just virtually feels like you can play through anything and everything. But I also feel like it has a very strong spot in this current format too, just where you have like natural, I'm gonna say a natural form of removal built into the deck that is non-interactive, which kind of helps in things like a Rise Hard Pass or we'll say a different kind of like a Floodgate or something of the sort that they may have as a monster on board. But I'll go ahead and get into the deck profile. So, got with standard Rikka card, you play 3 Petal, your Searcher, your Monster Rhoda. Pretty standard. I chose to play 2 Princess. Some lists argue 3, some argue 2. I say it generally depends. It's up to you, up to the build. You can run with 2 because she's easily searchable. She recurs herself very easily. You can search her off Petal. You can search her off Glamour. If you see her in her hand, it's not a bad card either. So it's really ultimately dependent on ratios as far as like if you want to play 3 or 2. But more than 1 is most definitely the way. Plus your monster negate tribute your opponent's monster if you can. 2 Primula. This one I usually see argued as a 2 of or a 1 of. Same general consensus with the Princess. You're mostly wanting to summon this off of tributing something with Glamour. So I can see the why most people would tend to run 1, but I personally felt like having 2 was just more of a security option for me. That way I would still have an option that I can play off of if it was like if I already had used 1 Primula. And she can also be normal summonable. Very niche effect to add 2 levels to a plant monster, which never comes up, but it can, and it's funny if it does.
When would it come up? What do you make him?
It's just off of a. I'm not even sure. Like you can make a Mudana level 8 to go into like Teardrop or something.
Hard make tier? Okay, cool.
Yeah, hard make tier. 2 Mudan. 2 I feel like is just the way. If you see her in your opening hand, that's fine. Otherwise, you just search her. Doesn't really do much of anything at max, but she gives you Con. If you already have Con in hand, she gives you Glamour. And if you already have both, then she gives you Sheet, and then you just have Con to give you an extra Glamour. Really, pretty integral to the strategy because you want to see the field spell when you can. Then the one of Snowdrop, this is probably the one I don't want to see in my opening hand. However, every time I've opened with her, she wasn't really a brick because I was able to use her out anyways later. But she's pretty much your way to either get into another Strenna to get into Teardrop. If you're running the Aetherion engine, you can search for her and Liberea through Glamour. But most times you're either adding her through either Petal's effect or through Jasmine. And then her in-hand effect to special summon herself lets you special summon another plant, which can be the Mudan, it can be a Petal, it can be a Seed, it can be whatever. Honestly, she just makes going into Strenna or Teardrop very easy. But she does have the one drawback, which isn't really a drawback in this deck because everything you play is plants, and you cannot special summon non-plant monsters, which doesn't really matter. And that's it for the Rikka, for the main deck Rikka monsters. As for the Sun Avalon side of main deck monsters, I'm running 2 of the Seeds, I was iffy on running three seeds. You see it more often. You can normal summon the seed and then go into the Sunavalon play. I myself personally am not a huge fan of using my normal summon on seed because then I feel my options are limited if my Dryas or Sunbind Stone gets answered by Imperm or Ash or anything. But it as a normal summon itself, uninterrupted, is very scary because then it just blows up into a difficult to outboard.
So with the one seed, can you get to full combo?
Yes, just normal summon C
As long
can
as
give
there's
you
no interruption.
Yeah, as long as your opponent doesn't really have interruption, the one C can net you the full board of. If you're running like with Therion Engine as well, it can net you Regulus, Bangalancer, Astrena, and Hyperiton off of just his one normal summon.
Alrighty.
And then last main deck monster of the Sunavalon stuff is the Sunsea Twin. Always play at 1. You never want to see this card ever in your opening hand. It feels horrible. If you see this in your opening hand, you better hope and pray Snowdrop is in there with it to make so that you do not have to waste a normal summon on Twin. Otherwise, it just feels bad. I've seen it twice in my opening hand, and I just feel horrible every time I see it. The one time it was in my opening hand, I had Unexpected Die, and that made it not as bad, because then I had 3 monsters on board. But where it still ate my normal summon, it was not very good. But yeah, integral to the play, the only main Garnet of the deck. And then I was playing the Therion Engine. So the 1 Lily Berea, 1 Regulus. You can play 2 Lily Berea if you so desire, because she can be useful. She can be used for extension. She's a level 8 plant who just basically summons herself for free. She gives you Disc Coliseum. Disc Coliseum gives you the Regulus. And on the note of Disc Coliseum, I'll go ahead and drop it there. I did run into one instance of having Disc Coliseum in hand, but did not have Lily Berea, and I feel like myself personally, I was not optimizing well with just the Disc Coliseum and none of the other Therions, because every time I would activate it, I was always at Regulus, and I don't know if that was the proper play, because I can always add Lily Berea off by other means, but in those events that I can't, she, I feel, would be of more value to add off of rather than Disc Coliseum. But she's a level 8 plant. She can go into Teardrop. She can become level 4 with Snowdrop into Astrena. She can also just be free extension, just free body. Just the way she's summoned in regular, she's just there really for the negate. And then for the rest of the main deck plants, I have Lone Fire Blossom and Cactus Bouncer. Lone Fire Blossom, always a one of, but...
One?
Yes, 1 Lone Fire Blossom, because you never want to normal summon. This is I would probably say, next to Twin, Lone Fire Blossom is the worst normal summon in the game. In this deck. Because it gets answered, and you can do nothing. Because
Have you always gotten ashed?
Never with normal summon Lone Fire, because I never go to normal summon. I've never seen Lone Fire in my opening hand as much as I've seen Twin. The times I do see Lone Fire Blossom, I'm instantly afraid because I get ashed, and then that's my turn. That was my normal summon. I have nothing left.
You know, I know you're a big fan of the Cactus Bouncer.
Yes.
I know he came up plenty of times for you.
Cactus Bouncer.
Is it just a floodgate?
He is a floodgate. If you control another plant, neither player can special summon monsters. He is the funniest, most jerk of a card in this deck.
Imagine getting locked out by Cactus Bouncer. Couldn't be me.
So did it happen once or twice where you had to go Cactus Bouncer beat
It
down?
happened so many times. So a lot of people would argue like Regulus or Hyperiton could be like the biggest floodgate in the deck, just because like an Omni Negate or a pseudo Omni Negate. But it's Cactus Bouncer. Like you have another plant on board, he has to be answered immediately before the opponent can even try to play the game. So if they have like an Imperm, they have to waste that Imperm on Cactus Bouncer. If they don't have an Imperm or anything to negate Cactus Bouncer on field, they would have to answer with a monster who is 18 or higher, and a lot of main deck monsters are not that big, except for like Tae and Aluber. No, those are special summons.
Oh yeah, they have to special.
Casters have to special summon. Although I will say, Cactus Bouncer may have been a bit of a hindrance to me because I would, like, at nearing the end of my regional run, I began to overvalue Cactus Bouncer's lock more than, say, Princess's Negate. Because I feel like had I gone for Princess Negate, it would have been a lot easier for me to deal with my opponent's options a little bit better. But because I overvalue Cactus Bouncer potentially locking them out, it was essentially like a fragile floodgate. But most people tend to side in the Cactus Bouncer. I choose to main deck him because he is just a funny floodgate, and he's big. Summon this against Drytron players and watch them skip their turn. That actually happened. And that's it for all the main deck monsters. Oh no, actually my only hand traps in the monster slot is just Ash Blossom. Moving forward, I would probably swap out Ash Blossom for Droll and Lockbird. Ash Blossom is good, but I feel she was only really good against Brandon. The time she came up and say against Sprite, you know, she might have helped a little bit, but it only slowed down their play. They didn't end on their ideal board, but they still ended on a pretty strong board.
And if you go against Dark World, Roll is just 10 times better.
Yeah, against Dark World, against what else did I play against? Sprite Brigade. It helped a little bit there.
Drytron.
Not so much Drytron. Not so much Drytron because I can keep adding, like, because Ben 10's not a hard one. But I would probably in the future I would switch out Ash Blossom into the side deck and play Droll in the main deck. But of course, the meta is slowly about to change again, so we'll see how that comes in the future. Now onto spells and traps.
And Mr. Tier 1.
Rikka, Con, the heart and soul, well, not even the soul of the deck, actually not even the heart of the deck, just the soul of the deck. Con, the greatest field spell to ever been printed. It dodges Ash Blossom because it sets a Rikka spell or trap. 9 times out of 10 is going to be Sheet, it can be Glamour. It is a soft once per turn tribute your opponent's monster for the cost of one of your Rikka cards. And that is where it is the most uninteractive form of removal. You remove their monster and then they can respond. This card is so good because you activate one, you tribute their monster. If you happen to have the second one, you can activate the second one, tribute another monster. Would you do that? I probably wouldn't. I'd probably want to keep the one until it gets outed. I choose to run 2. Most builds can run 3. It's I say that's up to personal preference. I kind of want to thin out my deck a little bit, so I can always search out Con, and I still have it available, so it's not like I was out of circulation with it. The greatest form of Rhoda in the game, Glamour. Just search you a Rikka monster or tribute a monster, and search you one plant of the same level. I mean, if you're playing it with Con, get rid of your opponent's monster and add 2 monsters. So go +2 or +1. No? +2. There's not so much to say about it other than you just keep doing it. You just do it, get 2 plants. And it's can only activate once, so if it gets hit with like a Barone Negate or something similar, you can drop another one. That's it really for the Rikka spells. The only Sun Avalon spell is a Sunbind Sowing. I feel 2 is a good ratio for this because I main 2, but every time I side, I'll always side out 1. And then I pray I don't see it. Granted, I also don't want to see it in my opening hand either, but it's not too terrible if I do see it in my opening hand and I have a Dryas who, we'll say, got hit with an Ash Blossom. Because even though I wasn't able to add the second Sowing, I already had 1 Sowing in hand I could just drop. And
So what you're telling me is they did not know where to properly Ash.
They did not know where to properly Ash, you are correct. So Sunbind Sowing pretty much helps give you that extension into going into Jasmine, and then Jasmine just exploding into a million searches. Gives you an extra body if you have Dryas on board because you just lost 1,000 life points, you gain your 1,000 back. In time, this can be pretty detrimental if your opponent waits for the Sunbind Sowing to resolve because you take that 1,000 and then they go to negate the Dryas with an Imperm, which will cost you the game because now you can no longer recover that 1,000 life points. And even if you loop Jasmine enough, you will still be 100 short. But pretty important piece of the deck as far as the combo line goes. And a little bit of like one-off stuff. The honorary Sunavalon cards, unexpected die, just free summon the seed. That's about it. There's not a whole lot. It just does it for free, not on once per turn. So if they ash this, drop the second one, they add something or another, and then 1 for 1. So one thing I do want to add to 1 for 1 against Kashtira, this was probably should have been one of the cards I should have cited out, but I did not, because I have to send a monster card from hand to grave as the cost. If a D-Shifter is out or a Rise Heart is out, the card is now dead in my hand, because I cannot legally activate the card. But other than that, it can get you into Petal, it can get you into Sea. It's pretty important in that aspect. And it can also put a Princess in grave, or just something you don't really need in your hand in grave. And then Call by the Grave, because it's Called by the Grave. I don't know what to tell you about Call by the Grave, it's good. For traps, I have just the one Rikka sheet. Really only need to run one. I've been off and on with Tranquility, in Archetype Monster Reborn. I've lost some. I'm not really too fond of Tranquility anymore, but she's pretty much another form of interrupt. You can tribute one of your monsters, take your opponent's monster, tribute one of their monsters, take their other monsters. My best use of this that I can think of would be against Math Mech. They normal summon Diameter, special Circular. This was kind of more in the grind game. Special summon Circular. I activated sheet, tributed off the Diameter, and then took control of the targeted Circular, take control of it, so it would end with no board, and then on end phase they get their Circular back, but now they pretty much later than when they needed its body. It's really good for disruption, and then you can, if you're cheeky enough, you can use it on your turn. It does turn that monster into a plant too, so it can be used with like Snowdrop or something to go into an Exceeds play. If you do use it on your turn, however, that'd be funny if you did. I've never done that, but that option does exist. 3 Imperm. It's good. It's good.
There's nothing to say about it. It's just
And
Imperm.
then I made the choice of main deck evenly. I chose to main deck evenly in the event that I would go second. Because if I go second, I have an option to out my opponent's board, if at all possible. If I go first and I see it in my opening hand, it's not the end of the world. I can still potentially use it, depending. And I have enough one-card combos that opening evenly did not really hurt me.
Sweet.
Yeah, if I'm going first, I'll always side it out. If I'm going second, I'll keep it in, and then I'll side out other stuff.
Even 40?
Even 40. For the extra deck,
Extra deck time.
3 Dryas. This is standard. His effect is not once per turn, so if the first one gets impermed, you can like tribute it off of Glamour, get like a seed and Petal if you want, normal summon the seed and then go into Dryas, or if you have another unexpected die, activate it to go into another Dryas. So its effect will activate once again. And you can still chain block with it, even if it is impermed, so your twin doesn't get hit. If you already have the sewing in hand, your twin doesn't get hit with a ghost spell. So you chain 1 twin, target seed, chain 2 Dryas, despite it being negated.
I love anime cards.
Anime cards are sick. The tree is hype. And you can also end on, at least in my case, I've had times where I've ended on Dryas and Cactus Bouncer. Because I have to control another plant for the floodgate to work. And Dryas is not able to be targeted for an attack. So they have to deal with the Cactus Bouncer straight out. If they can't, then they have to be able to blow up Dryas. Or blow up Cactus Bouncer.
With no specials.
No specials, exactly. It also hurts me a little bit too, but I can out my own Cactus Bouncer if I need to. 2 healers, you can see some lists may play 1 healer or 1 Thrasher. I've just chosen 2 healers, really good in time. Plus you can gain like 900 life points in the main combo line, especially with the Therion's engine. You just gain 900 life points and then you're up against your opponent. It can also help in a pinch too, when like say a Masquerade situation, you start going back into your grind. You don't necessarily explode because you have like 200 life points left now, but healer is pretty integral. Also not a hard once per turn, shout out anime cards. The 1 Malaya is really just for link climbing, just gets you the seed and then you can go into it. It does have some synergy with those that do run Sunvine Thrasher, where it can give it up to 3 additional attacks. That's about it.
Wow.
Yeah, and then Thrasher gains 800 for its link rating, so It's like what 800 starting out, 2400, so 3200 that can attack 3 times. You can go into a funny OTK
Is
with
it just attack? Can attack flat or attack monsters?
It can attack flat.
Okay, sick.
Yeah, but I find that a little more gimmicky than anything. It's
fair,
fun. It's
but-
fun. It's funny, but it doesn't really help too much. Just use it to climb into Bangalancer. One Dance Peony. Never really going into this in my normal combo line. This is if I get hit with Droll or if I am desperate for something. She is a gamble card because you're excavating your top 3 and hopes to get at least 2 plants. But she can go into your Xyz plays if you do hit right. Because she can target a plant in the grave, and those 2 that are linked to her become the same level. So if you have like you brought out a twin and they see, first of all, I'm sorry that happened to you, but you have a princess in grave, target the princess, go into a Strenna, and you still have you still have something that you can do. 2 Jasmine. A little mandatory to run her at 2. It's more recommended to run her at 2, I would say. Pretty much the extender of your combo. She's the only thing that gets imperm. That's kind of fine. You have more ways to keep going. It's not the end of the world if she does get hit with an imperm. Her life point gain effect. If you gain life points, it is a mandatory search. So it will always be chain link 1. Which is very funny that part is mandatory. The tribute for costing can be useful, and she helps facilitate theory online. And the last one is Bangalancer, the big tree, one of the funniest forms of removal. I'm not too fond of his form of removal because I have to target and then take damage before I can bounce it back, but it can get rid of things like Mirror Jade, for example. Because and it's the only way I won't get nuked by Mirror Jade, and Mirror Jade will just banish something. And then I take 3,000. But if I'm that desperate, I'll do it. For the Xyz stuff now, we just have the 1 Hyperiton. It's always going to be summoned off of the Strenna. Hyperiton is like that pseudo Omni Negate. It is free. It's a free monster off of the Strenna. Do be aware you can negate your own monster effects with the Hyperiton, or your own card effects with Hyperiton is funny. And usually if you're doing the combo line, normally you'll always end off on Hyperiton with a Strenna and a spell card attached to it.
Did you ever accidentally negate your own effects?
No, because I'll have to change directly to it. But on your turn, when you can start attaching it. But it is a 1 effect for that.
How do you get the spell attached?
You activate a spell card, then you chain it with a Hyperiton. But the thing is, it is a 1 effect, so if your opponent responds with something else, you have missed timing.
Okay.
And then my 2 Strennas. The 2 Strennas is just important for the deck. Like, she helps the grind game so much. She goes into Hyperiton. She goes into Teardrop. She does so much for the deck. Gives you recycles your Rikka cards. She dumps she can dump Princess into the grave. And that's just a free body that you contribute off. And the ideal end board is to always have her on the field, because in the event you get hit with like a Dark Lord or no more, her effect will still be live to be when she gets tributed. So you always have options with her. And then lastly, I run 2 Teardrops. Some people run 1. Some people run 1 and an Alce. Some people run 1 and some other extra deck card, like a 3rd healer for some reason. She's like one of your boss monsters. Just tributes, detach target and tribute a monster. She can gain attack each time a monster is tributed. She's big.
Is it permanent attack gain or?
No, it's just until the end phase. It's the only thing. But I mean, she can be proactive. And then if you're using her with like Sheet, Princess, her own effect, and then she can gain some attack pretty quickly that way. And then she can also be a beat stick. And you can also OTK with her if you have her and Strenna. You attack with the Strenna, activate Teardrop's effect to tribute to Strenna. Then Strenna's effect will activate to give you a Hyperiton. And she gains 2,000, attack with the Hyperiton, then attack with her.
How many times did an OTK come up for you?
It came up once at the regionals. Most of the times I would just have people scoop and go to the next game after my end board.
Fair enough.
And then for my side deck, 3 rocks. I don't know if this is needed to be explained. Opponent gets overzealous in their combo, just hit him with a rock. I think I've only never done that once, though. 2, Rose Archer. I wanted to give some respect to Trap Tricks and Labyrinth, and then to also counter evenly match as well, because she does negate. She negates the trap cards from the hand if you control Plant Monster. The only thing I discovered about her, and this was late against a Kashtira matchup, was she has to be sent to grave. So once they had a Dimensional Shifter or a Rise Heart Live, she was another dead card in hand. Sadly enough, I had her and 1-for-1 in hand at that time.
Yeah, I remember seeing in your last couple matches a judge just sitting there.
Yeah, I was.
Plants.
She's a warrior though, so she is unsearchable.
Oh.
Unless you want to run 3 of her in a rota so that you can get to her, but it is difficult to say. I ran my back row hate here, the 1 Feather Duster and 3 Cosmic Cyclone, and I will do it again.
That good.
Yeah, I wanted to maximize on the back row hate, especially when I had a Rikka mirror match. I definitely wanted to maximize because I wanted to out that field spell instantly. They ended up after post side. They chose for me to go first, which was outside my thought process. But having the 3 cosmics still available as a quick play, I can always respond to that con instantly. So, and then also against Labyrinth, against Trap Tricks, or anything really that can rely on back row is really good for this. So I would do this again, 3 Cosmics and 1 Harpy's Feather Duster. Some will do 2 Cosmics, 1 Feather Duster. It's up to you personally. But just being able to react to something with Cosmic is why I chose those ratios. 3 Book of Moons. I want to do Book of Moons versus Book of Eclipse because Book of Eclipse can be ashed. It also does not help me too much if I'm not able to clear out their board. The Book of Moons I feel is more impactful because I could Book of Moon say their their Rise Heart, or I could Book of Moon their Unicorn on Theosis activation. Then Book of Moon just pretty much solves a lot of things versus Book of Eclipse where they get draw at the end phase. And then I also don't risk my own monsters being face down. And then last slot, card that should be hit on the ban list. Dimensional Barrier. This card is one of the greatest floodgates ever be printed. Against Drytron, skip their turn. Against Branded, skip their turn. Against Sword Soul, skip their turn.
Hey, my Princess and Anagisters is safe.
Yeah, link-based strategies are safe. Rikka is somewhat safe.
Half a Virtual World is safe.
Half a Virtual World is safe, yeah. Funny enough, a lot of people don't know this, but if you activate D-Barrier while the opponent has whatever card type you call on the field, that monster's effects are negated permanently until they leave the field.
Oh, really?
Yes, because it's negate the monster's effects while they are face up on the field.
Oh, that's insane. Okay.
Yes, so you do it again, like I did it against Drytron called Ritual, and they pass their turn after activating Meteonis Drytron. Activated against Heroes, activated against that one deck called
Which one?
Branded.
Branded. Oh, yes, that deck.
But yeah, and that is the deck profile itself. I'm really happy with the performance that I did, 6-3. I'm not happy with my own personal performance, but I know the deck could have further gone even more than what I took it. I had just made choices that were not optimal in some of those dire situations, but we live and we learn, and I'm not sure what I'm going to do for the upcoming format, but I will be seeing how much further I can evolve with it. And I want to thank you all for watching, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.